Please welcome some very funny people. Alan Alda, Kerri Kenney, Ken Marino, Paul Rudd, and David Wain.
I'm sorry about Ken.
Where would you like me to sit?
Well, you sit actually right there. Here you go. Especially a guy asking questions. Here you go.
Is it questions or is it answers or is it both?
This is the part you'll be sorry you stayed for.
Looks like we have a few hobbyist shutterbugs in the audience.
Yeah, just ignore that clicking sound. It'll all be on the internet
We got a
before we
couple
go
of
home.
Catholics in the audience. Can I get a what?
You know, I bet you a lot of these people are probably, these pictures are going straight up to www.twitter.com. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. All apologies to the Monopoly people.
What? It just kept going.
There's a reason he doesn't have a bigger part in the movie.
I'm actually wondering for David and Ken if you did a lot of personal research into the world of nudism when you were preparing this film.
It's funny that we were just talking about the internet. Because the initial round of research was done on a place on the internet we found called Wikipedia. But later on in the process, we did actually visit some communes, and we learned a lot.
But while we were reading Wikipedia and when we visited the commune, we were both naked.
Look at the way he holds the mic. It's so hip. It's like what a great group on stage here, huh?
I'm not familiar with most of them, but
I actually am wondering because, with the exception of Alan, you guys have worked together now so much and so long. What is the atmosphere like on the set? I mean, we see a little bit in the end with the outtakes that there seems to be a lot of room for improvisation. I mean, how much does what we see in the finished film bear resemblance to what you start out with in the script?
I'll give you my perspective. We wrote a script that we always changed and evolved and worked on and revised the script throughout the prep process and the shooting process and the editing process. But then whatever pages we had on the day, we would shoot those, and we would shoot a lot of alt material as well, and we would also let the actors go free and improvise and play, and then we would take all of that into the edit room and pick whatever we felt was best.
I'm curious to just because we've worked together, but Alan, this was the first time we worked with you, and so from your perspective, how much improv? I mean, did you feel like we were doing a lot of improv?
How much is too much, is what he's asking.
Like, what was your take on how we approached the material?
I never was in a picture before where there were alts. It's a word for alternative lines. And they were, because some of these alternative lines meant that the scene you had just done couldn't possibly be in the movie.
Right.
So it was kind of a shock to be saying something that just obliterated everything you had thought about your character.
I think it's definitely taking it to another level. Like a lot of movies and comedies, you'll sit there's like a place where there's a joke or a punchline, and so you'll have some options for that punchline, and you'll shoot them all. But I think that more and more comedies are doing a thing where they have whole scenes or alt lines that, as you say, completely affect the plot in major ways, not just a different wording to try. And so,
what do you do when that happens? Do you do you keep track of the alts, and do you say, if we use that alt, then we're going to have to shoot the following 4 alts to make it clear?
Right, it's a rabbit
later in
hole.
the
It's a
movie
tricky rabbit
that
hole.
wasn't just insanity or psychosis.
It's a total mess.
It
But
did
yes.
seem as if on this there was even more of that, where some of the alts, and I think it was
Alts begat alts.
a Judd influence, where some of the alts were really drastic, like you say, where it does affect the outcome of the movie. Where
Now
it's
you're-
like, now
you're-
you like being at the commune in this take,
Right.
now you don't like it, and it's like, well, that's more than just a different joke.
When you say Judd, you're referring to Judd Apatow, who is
that's right. That's yes.
one of
yes.
the producers of the film.
No, I'm sorry, Ashley Judd
Ashley Judd,
was also one of the
who also
producers of the
submitted a
film.
lot of alts each day,
yeah,
even though she had nothing to do
She
with
wanted
the film.
every alt to involve Kentucky basketball in some way.
But I do think that this, Judd produced this movie and helped, show us the way he's evolved his process to make his movies, and that's a lot of what makes a movie like Bridesmaids so great. Or a lot of these movies that he does is he'll just try so many different things, and then it's all to be figured out in editing.
Oftentimes the alts were not even character specific. It was just
No.
like somebody.
You try this
Somebody
line.
say this. Yeah, that wasn't good
It
enough. Now
basically
you
is
say it.
like cover your ass in post alts. So we can go into post, and then if there's a line that's funny, or if there's something that like has value to enhancing the scene, then we can use it. We have it.
I'll give you
But a lot of it is,
I
we can't
remember
use it.
we were toward the end of the movie. We were doing a shot, and David gave Kerri an alt line, and she shot it. She said it, and the shot was over. And about a minute later, she turned to me and said, "What does that mean?"
I didn't want to get fired. It was so late, and it'd be such a hard thing to recast and wig and everything.
There's absolutely pros and cons, or there's no right way to do it. As they would say in Elysium, there's no one way. Right. And
Beautiful.
That was really
Thank you.
nicely
It's really
done.
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
Dave.
Really good, impressive.
But I mean, to give
Wow.
a contrast, for example, in Wet Hot American Summer, which was an independent film with very little money and very little schedule time, we had basically no alts and very little time for improv because we had to do things in one take and move on and shoot a ton of stuff every day. And
Now that you have the resources of a major studio and have sort of become known as the Stanley Kubrick of comedy, you
Right.
can shoot endlessly.
I
Don't
think
tell
I've
him
been
that.
that people have said I'm the Stanley Kubrick of movies. I hope that's what you meant you heard.
Exactly, my bad.
But on something like Wet Hot American Summer, we didn't have time on set to second guess the script that we had worked on for 3 years while we were trying to search for money. So in this case, it's just every process is very different, and it gives a different flavor.
Paul, can you just take us a little bit through your extraordinary scene in front of the mirror when you're trying to work yourself up to have sex with Melanie Ackerman? How long did you shoot? How many alts were there for that? I mean, we see a little bit of it at the end.
Yeah, there were, believe it or not, there were things that weren't used in that scene. And that was also the first day. That was the first day of shooting. The first scene
two things we shot were you on the toilet with your balls out,
Right.
and then that.
And then that. And I remember looking around. Some of the crew had worked with us before and kind of knew there was this kind of
Sensibility.
sensibility and improvisational way of working. But others hadn't. And I remember looking around of the kind of the disturbed look on a lot of the crew, their faces, saying, "What?" I could tell they were like, "What is this? What are we shooting? I didn't read this part." Yeah, in the script there was it was really talking about the erection selection. I believe like some of that was the first part of it was scripted, but then David wanted to just kind of keep it rolling. So
And at the end of the scene, Jordan Peele comes in and catches him in the bathroom. But we just had Jordan, and I'm like, just wait, hold on, let's just hold on, don't go in yet, and wait, and to see where he keeps going. I always laugh when you're talking about the crew because when we did our show Stella in 2004, I was younger director at the time, and I was directing and on screen being very goofy and silly and weird. And it was a lot of like, okay, put the camera right here, and then I just wanted to like track over and then land here, and then we'll go, okay, ready, here we go, action. And they were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I want to take some questions from the audience for our
Oh
distinguished,
my God, there's an audience.
distinguished panel right
They're
here in
not
the
here
front.
for this,
So
Alan.
the Q&A involves some cue for you
That's
now.
right, exactly.
Paul that my mother's favorite movie is Dinner for Schmucks, and she was laughing throughout the entire movie that I wanted to move my seat, which she was embarrassed.
She was laughing at about how you wanted to move your seat.
And my question's for Ken and Paul. Can you tell us anything about Party Down possibly becoming a movie?
The
Okay,
question
let's
is,
see. Yeah,
can we tell you anything about Party Down being a movie, becoming a movie? Paul?
Well, I mean, I think we're all hoping that it will. You've brought your DVD, I see.
Party Down, for those who don't know, is the great series that was on Stars for 2 seasons and cut short.
Thank you so much. I didn't get one of these. so
You know, it's so funny.
This is great.
I'm so thankful. Yeah,
Oh.
I have this.
Paul was the co-creator of the show. Ken was one of the stars of the show. What she's not acknowledging is that I directed one of the episodes, but it's fine. It's not
And I had 4 lines in one
It's-
too. Apparently, we're not
it's-
going to talk
Kerri
about
was
that.
in that episode, and Alan might have maybe seen it, probably not.
I never heard of this whole thing.
You should watch it. It's a very good show, Alan.
We have Alan freaking Alda on this stage,
Yeah,
and we're sitting
pretty
around
crazy.
goofing off.
I have to say that, I mean, I've said this to Alan so many times, but for, us and our, dorky little comedy land that we've been in for so many years, I remember that we had already been a couple of weeks in Georgia when Alan came on.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
And everybody was so, nervous and excited for him to come. But also, I don't know, I was a little afraid that he was going to see, like, the turkey parade that was happening and turn his private jet around and go home. But
So they took the air out of my tires.
but
Sorry about that.
he instantly was, the most important member of the family, and also such an insane team player, but terrifying when, you're used to having your drawers down around each other for 23 years, but then comes this, like, professional, like, acting dude. And I will never, ever forget the moment when we were shooting the scene in front of the television watching the protest, and the first improv came out of Alan's mouth, and he turned to me, and I was like, fuck, 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 fuck. And I came out of my body and looked down at it, and I was like, say something funny, you stupid bitch. And I did. I mean, guys, it's in a major motion picture. It's not that big of a deal. I feel like you're making a really big deal out of it, but...
Alan stopped the shoot the first day, gathered the whole cast and crew around to explain to us that if it bends, it's funny.
That's a joke for very few people.
Probably
yes,
not.
over there. Yeah. Where did the idea come from?
Well, communes have been around for a long time. Way before I was born.
Ken and I go into a room for about 6 months with a big, like, bowl of pot,
Huge bowl of it.
and just kind of wait around. You
Big
can tell I'm a big
bowl of
druggie.
pot.
And just like all sorts of cups of booze and I think the idea for doing something that was in the world of a commune was appealing to us. Ken and I, for the second time, got into a room at Ken's house for a week one time 5 years ago and said, let's come up with an idea for a movie, outline the movie, and write a first draft in 1 week, 12 hours a day, and make it our business to do that no matter how sloppy it is. And so that's what we did. And we picked that idea because we had to pick something. And we had seen the movie Together, which is the Swedish movie from 2000. And we loved, and always have loved, having been coming from the State, the idea of kind of groups of people getting together and going against the grain and trying to be democratic and rise above human nature, and just some of those themes that are now in the finished movie. And so we just kind of thought it would be a fun and funny arena. And
Another thing that was appealing about
Yeah.
it was that we had such a kind of magical experience on Wet Hot and shooting
which is
it.
the sort of industry inside term for wet hot American summer.
That's right. And just kind of being alone, just being somewhere for a short period of time, not being able to go anywhere, and how we all kind of got together and we bonded and had an amazing time. And so we wanted to write another movie where we can just kind of all go off and shoot some sort of comedy where nobody else was around, and we thought this was a nice opportunity.
For me, this was less like camp and more like work camp, but it was good.
Do you did you ever think early on that if it's easier to do a movie like that that's in one location just because it's cheaper? I mean, I'm sure, like legit.
Definitely, there's no question that Wet Hot American Summer was conceived from the ground up and written to be as cheap as possible by being all daylight exteriors and all in one location. And that was the whole point of that idea.
Until you had like the hurricane of the century for 3
Right.
months during shooting.
Right. And then it rained hard, cold every single day and basically ruined it. But yes, and then we learned from that experience, though, that the upshot of that also is having this group together away from our regular lives in the middle of the country is a very special experience. And so it was nice to have a new version of that now as adults. We're all married and with kids and so forth.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So obviously the four of you have worked together with, the state and the Stella Show and stuff. And Mr. Alda, I'm assuming you've seen it all.
He was in MASH.
I think, let's just stop right there. Your assumption that he's seen it all of what we've done, I think, is highly exaggerated.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's.
Good,
No,
good.
no,
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
I
probably not.
misunderstood.
The sketch comedy show that we had done.
Oh, that's another thing I don't know about.
Yeah.
So somebody like Jennifer Aniston, I'm assuming,
Gillian Anderson?
No, Jennifer, Grandpa.
Oh, very good. She's very good.
how did she react to the whole, did she see you with the dildo in Stella shorts? How did she come to this, and how was she around the pants?
I will tell you that having had the experience of various girlfriends over the time that we were doing the Stella shorts, I knew to keep that under wraps for a while till we got to know her and get to get her used to our brand of comedy and the way we work.
We're
but
talking
then
about Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston. But she was amazingly game and jumped right in and very excitedly and with great sportsmanship just came in and
She showed up first day with a strap on. We were all like, that's
Yeah.
awkward.
and she had a dildo in each pocket of her apron.
The
And
I
everything
thought totally
else.
unprofessional.
The reality
but-
is Jen had worked with Paul a number of times, and they're old friends. And then we had read somewhere that she was a fan of role models.
Well, yeah, and I had actually met with her one time before we started this project because she had like.
Oh
role
yeah, well I
models.
met her at a Starbucks like 10 years ago.
Also,
It's like-
but
This is not a
that what we're
competition.
doing?
It's not a
I knew,
competition.
by the way, guys, I knew her before any of you ever even met her. So whatever, it's no big
Alan-
deal. I mean, it's
Alan
not,
worked,
it's not
Alan
a
worked with
competition.
her. It's fine.
I fucked her dad, so it's like
All right, you win.
Alan, you
do.
you knew Jennifer from that movie, The Object of My Affection, right?
Yeah. Paul and Jennifer and I were in that movie together, Object of My Affection. Yeah,
Oh my God!
I know.
Really paint a
Yes.
picture.
You know what? I just found out I'm in this movie.
It was pretty fun to the three of us kind of getting to be nostalgic.
I know.
yeah.
As young as we are.
I know. It's we were children during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah,
I will
it's
say we might make mention of it throughout the night. There's another cut of the movie that's going to be on the DVD called the Bizarro cut, and it is a whole version of the movie that instead of a couple scenes being different, every single scene is completely different. There's very little material in the Bizarro cut that's in the theatrical cut.
There lie your alts.
And that's where a lot of those alts land. And
I
that's
love improvising, and that's one of the things that I loved about doing the movie. And Paul and I had a scene one day where we must have improvised for a couple of hours throughout that scene, and it turns out to be one of the happiest times of my life in front of a camera, because things came out that I really didn't know were in there.
I can tell you from the editing that there are several takes where the boom operator lost it and shook. There was times when the camera operator lost it and shook the camera because it was so funny, and we were all one wall away, laughing our asses off.
And it's not in the damn movie either.
Okay. It's because somebody said some alts in another scene that made that scene irrelevant. But all of that is on the DVD.
Well, there was another. Yeah, I think you're talking about the scene when you have a heart-to-heart the night that Jen sleeps with Justin's character. But there was the first day at the commune when you guys have a back and forth of money buys nothing. That was like a couple of lines back and forth, and I remember you three had met in New York and had a dinner.
I want to interrupt you for 1 second. How about everyone takes one more picture and then no more?
Wow.
Well, just because there's so many clicking.
I know,
It's
it's
good. I think it's
buzzkill,
bothering Alan.
I don't think it's bothering Alan at all. I feel like it's bothering you.
No, not me. I love it.
Oh, you're all for it. All right. I'm so sorry about the pictures, Alan.
Alan, calm down about the pictures.
Alan, just take it easy.
I'd like to get some help here. What are they talking about? No, seriously.
If there's any member of our cast of our movie that's been hounded by paparazzi, it's Alan Alda.
What, the pictures out there?
I'm circling back, Alan. I don't even want to go down that path.
I didn't mean to start a whole thing.
You know, there used to be a director called, the nickname for the director was Lamont Cranston because he had the power to cloud men's minds. He would give directions that nobody understood. I understood you until tonight.
Well, he has a steak in his belly. We just came back and ate some food, and I think Dave is...
He turned into a meat eater. That's
Yeah,
the
he's-
trouble.
And now I have a steak in my belly.
Did you ever consider to give Alan a nude scene in the film?
I only do nude scenes if it advances the plot. There was one scene, that scene where they're running out naked in front of the bulldozer, and on one of my shots, one of my takes, I joined in by pulling up my shirt, showing my belly. That's not in the movie either.
But you had a topless swimming scene in Tower Heist.
I know. And that was funny. The director of that movie, Brett Ratner, wrote this with this thing, and I said I'll do the movie, and I looked at before we shot the scene. The open scene was still in the movie, where I'm climbing out of a swimming pool in my bathing suit. So I said to him, Brett, you don't want to start this movie with a 75-year-old guy in a bathing suit. And he said, don't worry, we'll fix it with a computer.
They made you look 72.
Yes. Yeah. And he did. So that's it. And I'm going to have that in all my movies now.
You swimming.
No, the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Over there, yes.
Uncomfortable
Did it
for...
yeah.
Was modesty ever an issue?
Was
for the
anyone
actor?
too modest?
Well, there's a shower scene missing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's not in there. There was a scene where everybody's taking a shower naked together, and Paul's character is a little uncomfortable, but because they're all, sharing the shower to save the water. Again, I refer you to the Bizarro cut.
And there's a nude-ish scene but with Mullen and Jennifer and I and Lauren. That was only in one shot that they used in the commercial.
Oh, the orgy scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We figured no one really wanted to see that, so
Who wants to see four beautiful women going at it?
the weird thing, I must say the strangest thing was having actual nudists around. When not everybody was naked and the challenge of retaining eye contact and being very conscious about really saying, are you enjoying the shoot, and thanks for doing this, and
Are you
Please.
cold?
are you cold? It was shot in the morning.
Please
It
get
was
your balls out of the hummus.
that was
Would
that
you-
was,
would
that
you
was
like
at the
to-
craft service table.
Do you want to dip yourself in some of this hot
wanna
chocolate? You know.
There's
Can
a
I-
lot of
can I
dip
ask-
your balls in it jokes for the can, and
Can I ask a question though? Who asked the question?
Sit down, Ken. Sit down.
Who asked the question before? I have a serious question. Did it make you uncomfortable?
No, I meant for the actors.
Okay. Because we did a lot of test screenings for the film, and there was a lot more nudity before, and we took it down a fair amount in deference to the majority of people who thought it was too much.
But one of the characters, Joe Latrulio's character, was a nudist in the movie, and
You probably didn't notice this.
at one before we started shooting, he's like, I think let's get a prosthetic, and we're like, that's a great idea, and it helped enormously on the set, because if Joe was just standing there nude, it would be uncomfortable. Like if he wasn't like in a robe and like kind of just taking it off, like as we started shooting, we'd be like, why is this guy just standing around nude all the time? And then I'm sure he probably would have been uncomfortable, or we would have been uncomfortable. But once he put on the prosthetic penis, we were all like, "Hey, this is great! Hey, look at that thing! Hey, look at that! Hey, you can talk.
we got a lot
it's
of-
true.
We got
Whenever
a lot of
somebody has
Christmas
like a
card
pregnant.
pictures.
Oh, sorry. What?
We got a lot of Christmas card photos out of it.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, I bet you if he had decided to go nude for real in the movie, within a couple of days we would have been used to it and not thought about it.
I disagree.
And that is the kind of back and forth that results in a screenplay like this.
It's amazing, actually, just how used to it you get. I remember it was like the second day, and I was standing having a conversation with Joe, and neither one of us was paying any mind to the gentleman that was on his knees applying spirit gum to his balls, getting ready for the scene. And we're talking, and it's guys like,
You know, by the way, I talked to that guy. He had a nervous breakdown from that job.
really?
He said, "Oh my God, I gotta go out and do him again." He was really nervous about the whole thing.
Yeah, he was. You're right.
Sometimes just
I mean, I
as
don't
like a
understand why.
flashback, I
you go
put
to your
spirit gum on my
doctor,
balls.
you take off your clothes for your doctor.
Yeah.
It's just body.
Was he was he uncomfortable with a real penis in the
his
way
face?
of his
Yes,
fake penis?
Yeah.
That was the wrong job for him.
I mean, he's the guy who designed the penis. I would think he would be a little bit more lax.
Well, I think God designed the penis.
Fair enough.
I was uncomfortable around the nudists, I think, because they were so comfortable.
They were
And
incredibly comfortable.
in between
yeah.
takes, we would say, "Okay, you can put your robe back on," because
They
your
didn't
balls
like
are.
that. They wanted
No,
to
they
stay-
wanted to.
Yeah.
In fact, they gotten more comfortable
Yeah.
when during.
And in between takes, they'd lay out on the grass naked
Yes.
and stuff. You
I
had
was-
to like step over them.
yeah. Place was crawling with them.
A little trivia: all the nudists who are running from the car at the end in slow mo are stunt people.
What?
They're all
They're all
stunt people.
They're
stunt
not the
people, friends of
official
our.
nudists?
They're not nudists. They're stunt people who got called in and
Our stunt coordinator and second unit director, Jack Gill, just basically called all his buddies and said, he's looking for people all shapes and sizes, no beautiful model types. And they had to run in front of a car, which is a stunt that requires skill. And then he said, "And you want to do it totally naked?" And they were all like, "Sure, let's do it."
so they're all stunt people in that one shot. It's really fascinating, aren't you guys? You guys are like blown away by it.
Some of these stunts were done by stunt people.
Stunt nudists.
That is.
and that lettuce we were eating was real.
That house was a real house.
Something happened. Something did actually happen that was interesting on the movie. The movie takes place in a commune, and all the actors were really wonderful actors and appreciated one another's work, and were all very supportive of one another. That often happens on a movie, but not to this extent. But what I've never seen happen is that sense of community persisted for a year after the movie was made. Everybody talks in a group email link, and there are the constant jokes and people keeping each other up to date. And I've never seen that happen before.
I think, I agree, and I think all of that starts with Dave, who creates kind of the tone of the shoot, and I think that. But I agree, it's a special thing.
I wish that we could keep you all here all night to talk about all this wonderful work, including role models, which we have to vacate the theater now so we can show in 10 minutes, and I hope some people will stay to see that. And I just want to thank everybody so much.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
very
us
much.
tonight.
Great
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And thank you, everybody.
Good evening to the Hardy, who are here for the second half of our double feature and Film Comment Selects. Very, very happy that the filmmakers have stuck around to give us a little brief intro. I love this movie because it seems like Hollywood never has a shortage of inspirational stories to tell us about some disadvantaged people and the kind souls who help them out. And this movie is kind of like the antidote to all of those movies, and it's extremely funny and actually genuinely touching, I think, in a way that most of those movies that sort of tug at your heartstrings until they rip apart actually aren't. So with great pleasure, the writers and the director of Role Models, Paul Rudd, Ken Marino, and David Wain.
How did I come from back there and you came from right there?
Hello, everybody. And this is
I'm Paul Rudd. No.
We've got Kerri Kenney. All three of these guys were cast members in Role Models, and I am in it too. And Paul Rudd and
Hello.
Ken Marino and I wrote it,
Please sit down.
and I directed
Sit
it.
down.
Please, just calm down and sit down. We have to
Stop,
get the
please,
movie
if you could be
started.
quiet.
So if we just quiet down, it would just
Quiet.
help us to move forward with
Again, we
starting
can't
the
start
Please.
until everyone is seated.
Yeah, the movie, we will not roll. Hello? Here you go.
Hello?
By the way,
Sit down!
up there's an empty seat right here if you're
Hello.
looking for one.
There's one right here.
Seat up here in the front.
There's one right
If anybody
here.
wants.
This one's this one's taken. Sorry, guys.
How many of you have already seen Role Models? All of you. Very good.
Well, why don't you go home and just watch it?
It's nice to see it up on the screen. There's deeper blacks.
It's all about the deeper blacks, isn't it?
Maybe
That's
we'll take one
racist.
question before we do it, since everyone's seen it already anyway. Okay. Sir? I might still watch a little of it, but are you going to come and hurt me or something?
I am not. I'm going to go get some sort of alcoholic beverage and put it into my stomach.
I don't think
flying
those two
back to
things,
Los
by the way,
Expensive
Angeles,
alcohol.
California.
mutually exclusive. I think you could probably drink and watch the movie.
I don't like
all
I
drunk.
don't like multitasking.
Oh, all right.
I had a steak earlier. It doesn't matter. All right.
It really
So,
doesn't.
This movie is from 2008, and here it is.